Okay. Brandon, sorry about that. You ended up. Anyway, so we'll just keep shaking. Anyway, so however you feel comfortable, Susan, you start first and tell us about yourself. Tell us why, what unique reasons we should support you as opposed to other friends of candidates or whatnot.
All right, thanks so much for having us. First of all, thank you for everyone for being here. We're all here tonight because we care about our country. I think that's very evident. I'm very thankful that we have such a group of people that are dedicated patriots to be here for our country. It's important. I'm so proud of the Tea Party and what the Tea Party has accomplished. I'm sorry, can you not hear me? So I'm proud of the Tea Party and what we have accomplished as a Tea Party. We've come together since we've gotten this new administration. And we have really made a giant difference. Many of you, I see out in the audience right now, we've been in the trenches together, and we have accomplished great things for our country. Our Tea Party has been founded on the principles of our founding fathers. I think it's important for us to look back at the founding fathers. Somewhere along the way, we have lost our way. And that's very frightening for many of us. That's what's gotten us involved. And I think it's important that we all stay involved and stay engaged in this fight. I think the Tea Party itself, I look at more like we're the militia. If you've seen the movie The Patriot, we're the militia. We're the ones when the enemy is coming at us, the army has retreated. We're the ones like Mel Gibson that pick up that flag and we're running and we're charging towards the enemy because we know what we believe in. We know what we're here for. We know what our founding fathers founded this country upon, and it's very, very important that we stay engaged in this process. I'm very thankful for the work that many of you have done. A little bit about me, I grew up up in Sherman in Grayson County. I went to the University of North Texas in Denton. My major was interior design. My minor was industrial technology. Worked in the corporate world for Sunbelt Savings in Bank of America. I have started my own business in consulting, doing interior design and space planning. After that, I've had my son, stayed home for a while with him. It was a privilege to stay home as a stay-at-home mom and raise my son. That was a choice that Brian and I made and felt like that was where we needed to be as a family. I happen to just care more about public policy and good legislation than I did about a paycheck. And so I stayed home and I got involved, very, very involved. I was involved before I had my son, and I've stayed involved the entire time. I think that's important, to stay involved and be active in your community. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. I'm thankful for the opportunity now. I've never run for public office before, but I care very much about our community. I'm passionate about our community. I'm passionate about serving. My family is really big into service. My mother is a retired teacher. My father served on the city council. My older brother is about to retire from the fire department up in Denison. And he's a battalion chief up there. So service is just part of my DNA. This is who I am, and I love to serve. And I would be honored to serve as your county commissioner. Some of my priorities are going to be infrastructure, transportation, economic development. No, I'm running out. Economic development is really important. We need to bring in companies into this community that are going to provide jobs for our citizens. It's very, very important that we have 74 people a day moving into Texas and moving into Collin County. And with that growth, we want to be sure that we bring in companies, good companies, that are going to be able to provide jobs for our citizens. With that comes the infrastructure that I'm talking about. It's important that we have roads to get to these people. The mobility within the county is very, very important. Another part of it would be public safety is a big part of my initiative. I think it's important that we have good public safety and that we are equipped. Am I running out of time? 10 seconds, all right. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to answering your questions. I think it's important that we have these types of venues and these types of opportunities to talk to our people that are running for office, and just so we can have a transparent process. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Reed. I'm your county commissioner. For those of y'all that, is that me?
No.
Okay. For those of y'all that don't know, I was recently appointed to this position in early December.
Mark, why don't you restart the timer until this time?
Yeah, that's just fine.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mark Reed, I'm your county commissioner. I was appointed to the position on December 2nd, sworn in on December 9th. The way I got into that swearing in was by virtue of the fact that Matt Shaheen, that we all know, resigned. It was anticipated that he was going to resign to run for HD 66. So Judge Self put a call out in anticipation of that resignation for people to submit qualifications for the office. 9 people submitted those qualifications. Judge Self reviewed them, did whatever due diligence that you would expect him to do, and then he interviewed all of us, and I was honored to receive the appointment on December 2nd. For those of y'all that don't know what the county commissioner does, let me tell you, because I get a lot of questions about this. The county commissioner's court is to the county what a city council is to a city. Every county in the state has a county commissioner's court. It's comprised of 4 commissioners divided by population around the county and 1 county judge. County judge acts in the same capacity as a mayor might act on a city council. So we're the administrative governing body that runs the county. What does the county do? Collin County is a big operation. It's got a $280 million budget. It's got 35 elected officials and over 1,800 employees. So as county commissioners, we set policy and we make the administrative decisions on how all of that works. The biggest part of that effort is the judicial system. The sheriff, the DA, all the judges, and to an extent, the district clerk and the county clerk. They handle the back office support for the courts. The county clerk also handles all sorts of records from birth certificates to death certificates to if you have cattle and you've got a new brand to register, they do that for you. So lots of things that the clerks do. And Andrea's in the back, so she knows all about that. Hi, Andrea. One of the other elected officials is our tax assessor. We all know and love our tax assessor. And then 5 of us are on the commissioner's court. So that's what the county does. The reason I'm here is a lot like a lot of you. I wasn't paying attention. I've voted since college. I've always voted Republican, but I wasn't really engaged in politics. I was engaged in a lot of other things from college. For the last over 3 decades, I've been very active in a lot of volunteer activities, held leadership positions in them, and I'm happy to bore you with all that to the extent that you want to know. But in 2008, when President Bush and Secretary Geithner announced TARP 1, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was tired of government spending too much, taxing too much, and doing what they've been doing for the last 100 years, getting more and more intrusive into our lives. So what I did, in fact, I saw that while on vacation, and my wife wondered why I was yelling at the TV. I came back. I swore I was going to come back and make a difference. I came back. I found my voice in the Tea Party movement over down here at Park in Preston. I saw a bunch of people just like us. Okay, so I got involved in the Tea Party movement. I've been very involved since. Thank you for having us.
One line.
I think I should have made it 5 minutes. It's okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. This is an important race and a very exciting race. My name is Ann Lieber. I am a grassroots conservative activist that focuses at the local, county, regional, and state level on little issues such as transportation, infrastructure, and property rights. And I'm going to make this real easy. What distinguishes me from the other 2 wonderful candidates here tonight, I'm your nuts and bolts candidate. For the past 5 years, I have been in the trenches, going to TxDOT meetings, going to North Central Texas Council of Government meetings, going to CoServe meetings, going to town council meetings, school board meetings, and just paying attention to local issues regarding planning, regarding growth, And living in Prosper, I've been in Prosper for 7 years, and just by attending over 95% of those town council meetings, I have learned so much through osmosis. I joke and I say I'm the Helen Thomas of the Prosper Town Council, because I have my own little seat on the second row, and I'm there and I pay attention. And I was also nominated in 2011 to serve on a very important committee. It was called the Comprehensive Advisory Planning Committee for the town of Prosper. What this was, it was a think tank of 14 citizens, and we were brought there to envision what we would like to see Prosper grow into in the next 5 to 6 years. Through that process, I learned so much from everything from housing density, transportation, roads, economic development, everything that has to do with the success of a municipality in a county was taught to me through real life experience through serving on that plan. And I think that has really, that differentiates why I am such a good fit for this seat. Last night I was at Prosper Town Council, and the council was taking up discretionary funds from the county that they were asked to, they're going to apply for, and we were discussing where this money would, work to the best advantage for Prosper. And then there was on another slide last night, they were talking about water, that there's another water treatment facility that's in the works, and more pipelines. So through attending, and this is, as a Tea Party leader, this has always been my mantra, and sometimes people don't get very excited about it. When I tell, they'll say, Ann, how can I get involved? I say, you really want to know? They say, yeah, how? And I say, go to your local city or town council meeting or school board meeting. And sometimes they look grossly disappointed because that just maybe doesn't sound as exciting as, some other national issues or maybe even issues in Austin, but it is the most important. It is the smallest level of government. It's the place you have the best chance of making a difference. I have made a difference. I have really brought a lot. Last night I was thinking, as I heard some of my councilmen talk about, they were taking up a fee for alcohol consumption should stores start selling alcohol and what they do with that tax money. And there was some sort of fee involved, and one of the councilmen said, hey, we don't need any, this is a revenue grab, and we, let's vote this down. We don't need to nickel and dime people to death. And I thought, my work is done here. So I'm ready to move on to the next. Thank you.
We'll start this off. I'm going to ask a few questions, or more like scenarios than they are questions, to get you going, make you kind of think on your feet. So who comes out first? Susan. They're trying. No. Okay. We'll still do it. Come on. Anyway, all right. Here's the question. Obamacare. Obamacare is federal. What does it have to do with county? Well, Obamacare is having a major impact on the medical community. We're having a situation where the reimbursement of the doctors and the like is getting lower. The margins are going to get tighter. They're going to be looking for cost control. Now, Collin County is highly dependent on the generosity and the very well set up things by Matt. Where are you? The very well set up arrangement with the hospitals and doctors to take care of indigent care. Well, I need water too. Now, but with Obamacare, the margins will get tighter, and we may end up with more indigents, which is, if nothing else, from Obamacare trying to pay their bills and can't do it. So the question here is, if we reach the fallover point, I want you to speculate, give us a thought process of how we're going to address if we run into a situation where the indigent care and the hospitals and doctors come to us and says, I'm sorry, we can't handle this many people. How are we going to handle this problem from a conservative and a fiscal standpoint for Collin County?
Very good question, thank you for that. I think it's important, first of all, to realize that all three of us up here, when we are making decisions on the Commissioner's Court, if we were to be there, there is a 72-hour process where they put out an agenda. And so these are great questions, so you know how we're thinking on our feet, where our core values are. I think it's great that we have that. And it's a great opportunity to get to know our hearts and where we're coming from. But we're not going to be making decisions like that on the fly. We are going to be well-researched. I take things apart. I look at all the angles. That's one of my greatest strengths. I love to research. And so it's important that we look at all those angles, that we take public input, that we listen to the communities, that we go to those subject matter experts that are in the field and take input from those people as we make our decisions. But, in fact, I actually chair the Healthcare Advisory Board, which advises the Commissioner's Court on indigent healthcare. So that's an important aspect of what I do on that committee. Certainly, we're going to have to make some creative adjustments as this happens. Right now, we already had indigent healthcare. It's state mandated that we take care of our indigent population. And so, you know, as far as how that's going to be affected with Obamacare is going to affect every aspect of government, because it's going to end up sucking the lifeblood, our tax dollars, out of every situation. So we're going to have to be creative as a Commissioner's Court, as a county, to decide how we're going to impact, you know, those things that come before the Commissioner's Court. I think it's important for us to look outside the box and come up with some creative strategies. But as far as indigent population, we are already taking care of. We have been taking care of them, up to $30,000 per person per year. So it's important that we come up with some creative solutions.
I now have my 2 minutes.
Go outside and work with the subject matter experts.
I now have my 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Go
All right,
ahead.
and essentially addressing the same area in terms of what kind of thought process would go into addressing such a problem.
Well, it's a huge concern of mine, and I think that the county has been so strong in the fact that they have pushed back the county from being annexed into the Dallas Hospital District. And so what happens when there are people that go to Parkland for indigent care, we are sent the bill, we verify that indeed that is a county employee and that their legal status, I believe that's the case, and then we pay our fair share. What is worrisome to me is these regional healthcare partnerships that you here talked about. I believe it has something to do with an 1115 waiver. The county did a PowerPoint on it not long ago. And what I see is a push to regionalize our health care, and even in the PowerPoint, there was some language where it said you can either join or you can be, or you're going to be fit in somewhere. And that's the problem with regionalism. They want to pull our resources in with other counties that have more dense populations, that may have other problems, you know, more urban, maybe not have the affluence that Collin County has, and we will be forced in with them, pull resources, and then have some appointee or council distribute out these monies. And I think that is, I see a push to regionalize with healthcare, transportation, everything today. They want to regionalize, and they want to regionalize because they want to blur the sovereignty of cities, towns, and counties so that they can pull all the resources and then have somebody build them out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's somebody's form of government, but it's absolutely not the United States of America's form of government, and we must push back and be on our toes for this.
Obamacare is a huge problem. We all agree on that. In fact, it even has impacted the county employees because HR is doing studies right now, or has done studies to determine how Obamacare will impact the health care of the 1,800 plus employees of Collin County, and it does have an impact. Collin County has done a great job of staying out of the Dallas Hospital District You know, our total tax burden at the county level is less than 25 cents. And the hospital district in Dallas County is over 50 cents just for the hospital district. So we don't want any part of that. We don't want a Parkland. We don't want a regional healthcare system. What we've done, and Matt Shaheen had a lot to do with this, was a leader on this initiative. We have Project Access, which provides hospital, it's a partnership, as y'all mentioned. Project Access is a partnership between all of the hospitals in Collin County and a lot of the physicians in Collin County to take care of indigents in Collin County. We also partner with Primacare to provide the lower level services that people need. If somebody goes to the hospital for a cold, to emergency room, like indigent folks may end up doing since they don't have a primary care physician, they're immediately introduced to the other avenue, which is Primacare. So it relieves that stress on the emergency rooms. We also, you know, the point of all of that is that we've got a free market solution here in Collin County, and we need to keep a free market solution. I don't want my money going to some taxing district, some new taxing entity, to then figure out how to spend it. I like it when we work directly with the providers and have a free market solution to this problem.
All right. This next question has to do with transportation. Let's say this is the Transportation Committee down in Austin. Well, gee, that we passed the constitutional amendment, which will probably pass next year, that will give them extra billions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. You are going to go down there to talk to them. I'm going to extend this one will be 3 minutes. You're going to go down there and talk to them and tell them what you think the Collin County needs for them to hear, whatever that is. Okay, so think about that for a minute, because that's not an easy question. And let's get some different orders. Okay, Mark, you first.
Transportation's a huge issue. Years ago, in my work with our trade association, we had statistics about the rate at which goods and services move across this nation as compared to the rate at which they move across Europe. And at that time, goods and services moved at twice the speed in this country that they do in Europe. And it had a lot to do with the prosperity of the United States. The same thing applies at the county level. We don't get enough money from Austin, we don't get enough money from Washington. And we have a lot of toll fatigue in this county. People are tired of paying tolls. What I would like to see, what I would tell that committee, is that quit taking the money away from the taxes that we pay in fuel taxes and vehicular sales taxes and diverting that money to other things. Over half of the money in the fuel tax is diverted to things besides transportation. So the legislators go down there and they play shell games with the taxes rather than appropriately funding 25% of that money goes to education. If the education needs funding, address that. Don't go steal it from transportation funding. So that's the things I would be telling them, is if you've got a tax, spend the tax where it's supposed to be spent. And if we had that money, it would darn near solve the transportation infrastructure problems we have in this county.
Well, you've got a little bit of time left. I'll kind of extend on that then. Then what would you want for them to do in terms of Collin County? Is it a matter of just returning more money, or what do you envision them in terms of what the state needs to do for Collin County, other than?
Well, first the state needs to send us our fair share of money, but our fair share is still not enough if they're diverting funds to other activities. So that's what I would tell them. The other issue is the toll roads, and I'm running out of time, I know, but it's critical that they maintain the laws that exist in the state that prohibit tolling roads that are built with taxpayer dollars. That's double taxation. The laws are in place now that prohibit that, but they are continually pounding away at those laws, trying to weaken them so that they can toll roads that are built with taxpayer dollars, and that's wrong.
All right, that's good. Actually, a little time left over. All right, the next one is Ann.
Same question?
Same question.
Well, if anybody's known me for 5 minutes, you know I'm the anti-toll road lady. Go on my YouTube, youtube.com/LieberNation. You'll see a lot of videos that speak to this. But what I would tell them in Austin is, I don't appreciate them being so disingenuous. They called a special session at the end of the 83rd legislature on transportation that came in there, had a good Senate Bill 1029 that would forbid free roads, free lanes from being converted to toll. The bill started good. It was a couple of sentences. We were all, it looked like something was going to get done. But no, they got in there, they placed 5 loopholes, and the last loophole even cut out the commissioner court weighing in on a situation like this. So that's what they do. There are so many lobbyists down there in Austin working for the toll roads, working to entrap us. I think it's terrible that Texas, the state that people are flocking here for, is the last bastion of freedom. We have to be tolled for our personal mobility by the mile. I think it's outrageous. I think that there are creative. Senator Paxton came up with a bill that would dedicate vehicle sales tax to transportation. But no, they don't want to really think of these creative ideas where we could actually do something in a meaningful way of funding transportation. The easy thing is just to toll everybody. And that's what we have, and they lie to us and they say they're user fees. They are absolutely not user fees, and I even may believe that, except for the fact now they're putting toll lanes on what have historically been freeways. So this is incrementalism. This is absolutely what they are striving for. I see at some point, if we don't get some strong pushback, freeways may be a thing of the past. I even hear of something where you would be billed, and I don't know if they do this through the IRS or what, but they will calculate how many miles you drive a year and bill you by the mile. I mean, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, planning is important, but these planners, you have to watch them. They're going, I don't know where they're coming up with this stuff, but it's not based on liberty and freedom, and we should have mobility. Those roads, Mark is exactly right, those roads are paid for once, and this is taxation in perpetuity forever, 50, 99-year contracts, and we have to push back, and we have to have our legislature to really address this and stop being disingenuous and say, oh, look, we have the lowest tax rate, and then all these tolling charges going on. Tolls are a tax. Okay, I stand by that, and I think it's wrong.
I've got a comment here. I don't think she realizes that I actually worked for the tollway for a while. The first tag store, online tag store was done by me. So don't be and also the violation processing letter for those people who got the violation letters.
Yes.
So sorry, I was a contractor, I was a consultant, which means I was a mercenary and I would sell my soul. So please don't beat me up too much for that. But I do know things about how the tollway does and how they track information that is downright scary.
And can I add one quick thing? I applaud Kenneth Mon, our tax assessor. The NTTA, which is not even a government agency, they came to Mr. Mon and they wanted him to help them with their collections by not allowing vehicle registration if someone had tolls that were overdue. They were, had tolls that they owed. And that is absolutely, that's the taxpayer, us paying to help NTTA with their collections. I mean, that's outrageous. So I think that everybody was happy with him for that, but I was very happy with him, and I called his office to thank him personally.
Anyway, I opened up a can of worms there. I think we can all go on tollways for a long time. By the way, OCR that reads your plates, you go through, best accuracy is 99%. They do 1 million transactions a day or more. Figure out what 1% of that is. They're not getting them. They're getting them wrong. Anyway,
Wow.
Anyway, you touched on it earlier. Susan, you're next.
Thank you. Mark's absolutely right. 47% of our tax dollars, our gas tax, goes towards things that are diverted over to education, to many other things. 25% of it is education. We've got to figure out a different way in Austin to fund education to our kids. It's very, very important, but it's not roads. We do not have enough money for roads coming from federal or state. So they're putting in managed lanes on traditionally free roads. Those are all very, very key points. Another thing about managed lanes is that they will say, well, we have the same number of lanes that the taxpayers paid for. What they won't tell you is that those are going to be the lanes that are like the side roads with all the lights, with all the congestion. The people that get to go fast are the ones that are going on the managed lanes, that are the toll lanes. Managed lane is a toll lane. It's not a free thing. It's not, the word managed is just a way to shield what it really is. It's a tax. The tolls are a tax. That's very important. I was in Austin a few months ago, and going down there, I was listening to a radio program, and they were discussing whether or not they should turn Highway 35 into a toll road. And then they were going to divert all the other traffic around our capital city, and that was going to be the freeway. So not only were they trying, it was a money grab for one thing, they know that's a huge corridor and there's so much traffic coming through there, they were going to cut off access, our access as we the people, to the government. This is our state capital. They were going to charge us to go to the capital. That's a real problem. And I'm very, very concerned about that. I would love for all the toll roads that we have now to eventually become paid for and be free for us to drive one again. How many times has the Dallas North Tollway been paid for over and over again? They just keep extending it, and then, you know, we just say, okay, now we have to still pay to drive on the whole road. Why do we not turn the part that's paid for over to the taxpayers again and let them drive on it for free? If they want to extend it, fine. You know, if it's not a road that's been there before. I don't really have a problem with user pay if that's the only way, the only system we have to build a new road right now. If it's the outer loop, it sounds like that's going to have to be a toll road. So at that point, we're going to have to figure out how to fund transportation. I really think we are told enough already. And the Tea Party is told enough already at this point. You know, I have a whole new thing with it's transparent and accountable. So transparent, where are we? Transparent, efficient, and accountable. Sorry about that. But I think it's important, you know, we are told enough already as well. And so with the tollway, we've got to do something different with transportation. We've got to figure out a different way to fund transportation. It's very, very important. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, by the way, like I said, I did build a website, so I know it works. It's talking about the third revision. But if you really, I mean, a lot of you don't even know how much you're paying for tolls. Go out there and get your account, look it up online, and get scared. The first time I did, I built the system. I called my own out. Holy God! How much am I paying for all this? And all that stuff. So it's scary. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. This question has to do with, you know, county government has more impact on the rural areas, and I don't know how many rural people we have here, but when it really comes down to it, they're rural law enforcement. We have here in Plano, we got Plano Police, who did a great job in getting that 2-year-old killers to, you know, and all that stuff. So we've got all that. But the rural areas don't. They have the county sheriffs, they have the county deputies, and in the past there have been some issues with responsiveness out in the county, in the northern parts of the county in terms of the county deputies and stuff. You know, in terms of doing it in a conservative manner, again, that often would require possibly more resources or something. Would you kindly each go into discussion with what you think would be an approach to alleviate some of the issues that are out there? And we will start with Ann, and then we'll go to Susan, which you go right down the line. All right, and then we'll turn it over to these people.
Okay, well, this is another reason why I am so perfectly fit to be county commissioner. I've been a city girl, I've lived in Plano, and now I live up in Prosper, and I'm a horse owner. So and I used to keep my horse up in Salina near Weston. So I'm very familiar with the diversity of the precinct, the urban and the rural. But that is what the county is there for, the unincorporated areas. We are there to support and provide services in the county. And so I don't like when I hear, well, they live out and wherever, how quickly do they think the response should happen? They deserve the best service that tax dollar can bring. And it's the commissioner's court to provide that. So I think that we should not be dismissive of the rural. I mean, to me, that's the county commissioner's job. We do both. We have to support the urban municipalities, but we also have to say hands off too when they get, some of the municipalities don't need us as much as Salina, Prosper, or Fortunes and McKinney. I mean, I think Plano and Frisco, they got it going on. I don't know how much they really need the county, except for us to be there and support and partner with them when they need us. But that's the thing. The county commissioner has to support the rural. We have to provide those people in the unincorporated areas the best service we can, and I know we can do it. I believe Collin County has done it, and we need to continue. But now if we do have to have more sheriff deputies assigned to that or whatever, I'm open to it, because I want those people to have the same service as the people, they deserve that. The public service is a core function of the Commissioner's Court, and I think we should provide it.
That's just about right.
I agree. I think it's very important that we have public safety out in our unincorporated areas, that we're able to get to the people in a good amount of time to where we can help them in their need of their crisis. I'm certain that this isn't a unique problem in Collin County. So I think it's important for us to go learn from the other counties that are out there that have dealt with this problem and how they've done it. There's efficiencies that can be had. We certainly need to take care of the taxpayers' money. It is our money, it's your money. We are all taxpayers, and we need to be sure that we are taking care of your money, being good stewards of your money. So certainly, I think it would take going to other counties who have dealt with this problem and figured out a good conservative solution to this problem. Possibly it's a satellite office. That's going to be a lot more money to run that. So, that may not be the best answer. Let's figure out, what's been done already and figure out ways to even improve that so that we can take care of those people that are out in these outlying areas and be able to get to them in an efficient amount of time. I believe it's somewhere around 19 minutes from what I understand, the last time that I spoke with the sheriff, but, I'll have to clarify that for right now, for today. But I believe that it is somewhere around that to some of these calls. It's a long time if you're going through a crisis. And our personal safety matters, public safety matters. And so we've really got to address that problem. And in Precinct 1 it is. It's going to be Prosper and Salina, the northern parts of McKinney, Frisco and the southern area of McKinney, and then also in Plano are very well covered. But it's important for us as a county to address those problems. And I think the best thing that we can do is, again, go to those that are like counties and learn what we can from them first.
All right. Mark?
Well, every commissioner serves multiple cities. We have Plano, McKinney, Frisco, Prosper, and Salina. So, and this particular precinct is particularly diverse in those cities because we've got Plano that's a mature, built-out city. We've got Frisco and McKinney that are in the prime of their lives, growing, expanding tax base, those sorts of things. And then we have Prosper and Salina that are still pretty much rural, but they're looking at a lot of growth coming their way. So there's a lot of diversity there. True, when you live in a city, you have a quicker response time because of no other reason than the fact that the area is much more compact. When you live in a rural area, it just takes longer to get there because the distances are farther. I was talking to a police officer last night, that is a retired sheriff's deputy. He had a call in the far southeast corner of Collin County one night. It took him nearly an hour to get there. And you know, there's a limited number of deputies. It was nearly to the county line. It just took him a long time. This is one good reason that we need to keep Obama out of our Second Amendment rights, so that people will
You want them to come before but we want them there before the body gets rigor mortis.
Yes, we do, and that is a challenge. You know, in business, in construction, when we're building a library or a school or a church, we rely on the superior expertise of the subcontractors that we deal with, the superior expertise of the engineers, the architects, all those people that we deal with. As a general contractor, we coordinate what goes on and get it built. The relevance of that is that as a commissioner, I rely on the superior expertise of the people like the sheriff and the judges and HR and IT and all of the people that we have that do their job. They do it very well. Doesn't mean we can't improve it and work to get better. As Susan said, learn from other people. But we have great county employees and they do a great job.
Again, some data analysis of you know, the calls and stuff might go a long ways. I bet we have a great county sheriff's department, but they're busy, and some thought in those areas in terms of an IT type solution, in terms of just doing analysis, saying, well, if we have some little office in this little shopping center or something, that will relieve a lot of problems. And you just take the cost benefit analysis. Okay, I'll open up now for questions from the floor. Gerald.
Susan,
Yes.
when I was growing up here, we used to, my mother used to take us over to Six Flags and drop us off for the day. That was the time when you could drop little kids off and a place where not really worry about it. Anyway, but we had to be on Interstate 30, and it was a toll road.
Yes.
Interstate 30 between Dallas and Fort Worth was a toll road. And I remember decades back, they took the toll booths off. But that's why you still have all these little curly Q exits on that thing, because, you know, they only want to build one toll booth, so everybody had to get out. Anyway, it's always been my understanding, and maybe, I haven't researched it, but I always thought that the Dallas North Tollway was a privately funded road. And that's why it didn't have a state highway identifier like 121 or Interstate 30 or something like that. And that it would never, and because of that, it would never ever lose its toll status. Am I incorrect on that assumption?
You know, that's a great question, and that would take some further review. I think that's important that you pointed that out, and I appreciate your pointing that out. I still stand by my point that toll roads should not go on in perpetuity. When the road's paid for, it should be, you know, if we're turning around and selling those things to, you know, foreign nation people, you know,
I agree.
It's crazy, you know, that you've got foreign entities coming in and controlling our transportation. Why are we doing that?
I would fully expect that Highway 121 would eventually lose its toll because it's a state highway.
Right.
But since the Dallas North Tollway does not have a state designation, I always thought it was privately owned.
Great clarification.
They could do what they want.
Yeah, very great clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I grew up here in the 70s and remember when it used to be a quarter in the basket to get on there. And I do believe that it was the model for Dallas North Tollway was to remove that toll in the beginning. But today, once they get a revenue stream going, they hold on with bloody fingernails. But I'll research that too, but I think it was initially slated to have the tolls removed once it was paid for. I'll find out.
If you look at the maps of the county, you can see where someone's already bought up all the land, you know, for the future expansion. So I always, like I said, I always thought that was a private company. And
again, I can address a little bit of that. The tolls on I-30 came off 2 years after they were supposed to because they fought to keep those on. Number two, when I was there, you know, in the management and stuff, their goal is to build the toll road forever so they don't lose the stream. There is a point where somebody has to say, no more expansion, you're running into the thing. So that's the only way it's going to work. The laws, they changed the laws down at the state. They work very closely with the state to rework the laws to the benefit of the toll roads.
Yes.
And the counties, I would strongly urge the counties to consider pooling together and saying, we need to go down there and fight that. So, go ahead, Mark. I just
Like Dan, I remember the 25 cents. We used to take great pleasure at throwing 25 pennies in there and listening to it. I've served on the planning board for several years prior to the appointment, and the thing that I learned on the planning board is that it takes decades to get these roads built. We, as public servants, as leaders in the community, we need to look decades out to plan these things. The outer loop, for instance, where that's a project that someday will be built, but it's going to be 30 or 40 years from now. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I think your question about the D&T being supposed to go private is a very interesting question. We'll all find that out and see what's going on there. I don't think we're going to see a lot of additional toll roads. I don't think that can be the solution, because I met with the NTTA a couple of weeks ago. The Plano contingent invited me over to meet with them as commissioner, and the NTTA, and don't quote me on these figures exactly, but basically the NTTA brings in about $500 million a year in revenue, and they've got $9 billion in debt. I think they called it a pinch point. They're at a pinch point. They can't keep spending money to build more roads. So I don't know if I was encouraged to hear that or scared to death to hear that. The other thing we need to consider on toll roads is that if it's built with a toll and then the toll comes off, there's still maintenance. So I would, even if we, maybe the state can't afford to pay the maintenance, but at least the tolls could come down to a level that would just cover the maintenance, instead of, right now what they do is they continue to collect tolls and go build other roads with them, and that's how they got $9 billion in debt. Of course, one thing you should know about that is that Collin County got over $800 million of that $9 billion to use on county roads or for county projects, and we're spending $500 million of that to widen Highway 75 because it's not being paid for by the people that ought to pay for it in Washington and Austin. So the county has taken advantage of some of that tolling authority to get money to spend on transportation. So the devil's in the details, and as Ann has talked about, we've got to pay attention to the details.
I gotta ask, if NTTA goes bankrupt, do we get the roads?
That's what's wrong about NTTA. They say, oh, we're the good guys, we're keeping the money local. They're pushing the debt local. And that has to be recognized. And about, spending the tolls being told on this road to build that road, that leaves too much wiggle room for me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not comfortable with that. I think if you're taxed for something, it should go to that thing. I don't think it should be diverted over here, there.
Just like
we
the
lose
gas tax.
control.
Just
Yes,
like the gas tax.
absolutely.
Spend it where it's intended.
Well, yeah, that change of where they spend on other roads was, again, something that was passed down at the state level only several years ago. Before it had to be.
Yeah.
Again, I interject there because I've spent some time working with those guys.
I applaud the county, though. I think it's important that we created our own toll authority, and so that's really helped alleviate our problems. I'm thankful for that.
Next question. Come on, always got a question.
Yeah, right now Collin County has a really wonderful credit rating. We're a well-managed county. One problem that credit agencies do look at is they look at other taxing authorities within the county, because it's all the same taxpayer. And right now, particularly the ISDs are really increasing taxes dramatically. And my question is, and I guess to whoever wants to address it, is how would you, as a commissioner, encourage other taxing entities within the county to rein in their spending?
I don't know that you can do. I mean, maybe a bully pulpit, or, you know, but I see that. I see a lot of the ISDs put a lot of money towards stadiums and sport fields and everything. And then I heard the flip side. See, you have to be careful when you hear, you know, we climb all over these ISDs for building big stadiums and everything, but they're in a unique perspective, and they say sometimes that's the only way to keep the money local, to hang on, I guess via Robin Hood, to hang on to their money. So the devil is in the details, and I don't really know the answer, how you would encourage them to keep the debt down, because it doesn't seem that's how it's going.
I think it's important also to realize when you do have these giant stadiums that are being built, honestly, that's the people, when that goes to the people, they're voting. And if the people have said that's what they want, you know, let them eat cake. I mean, I don't like it. I don't want to have to pay for that, but you have to listen to the voice of the people. I think that's really important, that you listen to the voice of the people, and if they say they want it, you know, that's tough. That's up to everyone to lobby, you know, for their conservative side, to say we don't want that, you know, if that's what's going on. If the people don't want it, you know, they've got to get their message out there as well. So, you know, I think that you've got to also realize the flip side of that is the people have voted. But as a commissioner and looking at these other entities, I think it's important for us to get that message out there and work with the communities, work with the local leadership, with the municipalities, with, you know, our state reps and all of these, to come up with conservative solutions across the board, whether it's education, you know, whether it's another, sorry, is that enough?
I'm not using the timer, but to give a little bit, but let's see more.
We don't control what the ISDs do, obviously, but to your point of the credit rating, we do have AAA credit rating. It's the best that you can have. In fact, that's one of the reasons we reduced, not me, but the court reduced our tax rate by 0.25%, was because our surplus that we keep was getting larger than what is required to maintain that AAA bond rating. And they don't, what the bond companies don't want to see are huge swings in anything. So the court in the last budget cycle voted to reduce the tax rate by 0.25% to start eroding that surplus slowly over time, so we maintain our AAA bond rating. On the schools, you know, that's a huge battle. One of the things I was really proud to be part of in the 83rd session of the legislature, in fact, Barbara worked with me on it as well. 3 or 4 of us got together. We formed a group called the North Texas Citizens Lobby. And we had people in Austin every week of the regular session of the 83rd legislature looking at bills, reading bills, talking to the legislators, talking to the senators, attending committee hearings. Barbara did a tremendous amount of work herself. We even had homeschool kids down there with us talking to the legislators. They had Senator Estes squirming in his boots over an issue. It was phenomenal. But the school issue, there's 2 sides to it in the courts. There's equity and there's adequacy. The equity thing goes to the Robin Hood, kind of goes to the Robin Hood thing. It's the fact that schools are funded per student, so many dollars per student. So if a rural district gets, I'm making up a number, $100 per student, but a urban district gets $150 per student, then they go to court and they argue that there's get my teeth in straight, an inequity in that funding. The other side of it is adequacy. Are the funds that are provided adequate? This has got nothing to do with the county, but it's a huge issue for the school districts. I'm like you, I'd like for the school districts to quit raising taxes, but that's an issue that the voters have to take up with the school board and with the school districts.
And what is the plan, or what's been done as far as the retirement program and medical funding for the retirement for the employees of the county?
Well, that started 3 years ago. I testified in that, and my argument in that testimony was that would you rather have a little less now but have a retirement plan that is sustainable, or would you like to have more now and not have anything in the future? Well, over 3 years, Judge Self led the effort to figure out a way to make the retirement plan that's mandated by the state and managed by the TCDRS to make it sustainable. I think we've achieved that now. and I can go into the details, but that may not be that important to this venue, but we do have a plan, a system in place where we'll fund, we can budget for the retirement system for the employees. We worked with the TCDRS to get actuarial numbers to know how much to put in each year, but it was flat unsustainable the way it was. In 5 years, the county put in $55 million to make sure that the retirement plan is fully funded. So as we sit here today, our retirement plan, and it's thanks to the judge and Matt and the rest of the court, the plan is fully funded, and we've got a plan in place where we can do a budget year after year that's a manageable budget to keep it fully funded in all but the absolute worst economic conditions. So they've come up with the best solution they can within the law. The only other thing to do would be to go to Austin and lobby the legislators to change the law.
I agree. I think they come up with a wonderful plan. I'm thankful for the plan that the court's come up with. Commissioner Webb, came up with this idea, from what I understand, to fully fund the program and to look at it each year and to make that matching funds, a fluctuating fee. If we have a down market like we did, I think it was 2008, we've got to do something. We're losing money in our funds. And so, for us to be taxed again to where we have to use county funds, we have to use taxpayer funds to fully fund that as well is a mandate. We had to match. They had to at least make 7% interest. And so, it's a difficult thing, to have to go back through there and figure out an option that's going to work where we can keep that fully funded. But I applaud the court for their great work on that. But I think it's critical that we also look at our county employees and make sure that we can still attract and retain good employees. We can't be Santa Claus on the Commissioner's Court. We can't give everybody everything that they want. But at the same time, we've got to look after the business of the county. And I don't want the B team, either. So I think it's important that we figure out a conservative solution to our budget. And I applaud the court again for the work that they've done there. But we do not want to be in a situation where we just turn into a training ground. There are many employees that leave before the time that, of their retirement to go somewhere else. And this retirement plan has been a problem for them in the past, and it continues to be a concern, especially with our law enforcement. So I think it's important that we continue to look at that and have a conservative solution, but at the same time that we can attract the best people and retain the best people. For our county, I want the best employees. And so we can't pay, the highest, but it's important for us to be competitive in the market. There's a job pool right here, and we need to be competitive in the market. So.
Well, I'm going to differ with my two opponents here. I should have been born in Missouri, because the show me state, because that's what, I want to see it. And there were two commissioners the day of the court that were demanding more information and said that they needed more information to rule on this very important vote. And it went on and was voted on 5-0. So forgive me, but I do ask the hard question. There were a lot of variables involved. When the employee would be vested, I understand that the court, which is a good fiscal court, felt we needed to get more in line with the private sector, but there were questions. There was an outside study I thought that was going to be ordered, and I would have wanted more information and to wait on that to come through, and then have somebody come in and talk to the county employees and explain this, because there were too many elected reps and county employees getting up to that mic and saying, hey, help us out here. We don't know. We're confused. We need information. That's just me.
As a point of clarification, the reason that was is because if you follow the discussion, and in fact I was in the court with Mark and Susan for probably the 9 weeks preceding that and watched all the proceedings, some of the commissioners thought that the vote was actually going to require a 7.5% vote. In fact, it didn't, and that's why the other commissioners jumped on the opportunity to settle at an 8%. Everyone was satisfied. That was why it was a 5% vote, because you basically satisfied both parties, and they knew that it was solved. Just a clarification.
Derek, I followed this discussion since 2010, and I was, because of work, I couldn't be at every court during this, but because I'm a numbers person and I want to see the numbers.
And if you'll come to court, I'll go over there with you.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
Well, we're at 8 o'clock exactly. And so we're going to call it here.